Imagine being accused of murder and instead of getting a trial, society literally throws you into a pit with the garbage. Not prison, not exile, just trash. That's how Rudo's story begins in Gachiakuta. And honestly, Rudo is probably one of the most interesting protagonists I've watched recently. Not because he's perfect, but because he's angry, broken, reckless, and still somehow refusing to believe that anything is truly worthless. I just finished the anime, and I have a lot to say about this boy. What immediately stood out to me about Rudo is that he isn't your typical flawless anime protagonist. This boy has an attitude. He gets angry, he acts before thinking, and sometimes you are just watching him like, Rudo, please calm down. But there's something underneath all that anger that I really like. Rudo cares about other people. He cares about things that people have already given up on. He takes broken, discarded objects and fixes them. And I don't think that's just a random character trait, because Rudo himself is being treated the exact same way. The world has already decided he's worthless, and yet he's constantly proving that discarded doesn't mean useless. And then there is Regto. This is where Rudo's story becomes personal. Regto isn't just somebody Rudo knows, he's the person who raised him, the person he had, and then he's murdered in cold blood. What makes it worse is that Rudo is blamed for it. Imagine losing the person closest to you, and then having the entire world turn around and tell you that you are responsible. That's what happens to Rudo. And before he can process his grief, he's thrown into the wasteland. So when Rudo falls down there, he's not just fighting monsters, he's carrying anger, grief, confusion, and one massive question. Who actually killed Regto? And this is where the anime really opens up. Rudo goes from knowing the world he grew up in to suddenly being thrown into a place where everything is unfamiliar. Trash isn't just lying around anymore, it can become dangerous. They are trash beasts, they are the cleaners, they are vital instruments, and there's an entire world underneath the one Rudo thought he knew. And I liked discovering all of this through Rudo because he doesn't understand it either. We are learning alongside him. Every new ability, every new enemy, every new person he encounters gives us another piece of this world and another piece of Rudo. But what really kept me interested was watching Rudo figure himself out. He isn't suddenly dropped into the wasteland and turned into some unstoppable genius. He struggles, he gets overwhelmed, he has to learn. And that's important because the powers aren't just about looking cool in a fight. There's something really fitting about the fact that Rudo's ability revolves around finding value in things that have been discarded. Because that's exactly what he needs to learn about himself. Everyone keeps telling him what he is. A criminal, the murderer's son, trash. But Rudo's entire existence is basically a contradiction to that. And then there's that hand, because obviously Gachiakuta wasn't going to give us a protagonist with mysterious abilities and just leave it there. There is clearly something about Rudo that we haven't been told yet. His marking, his abilities, his past. There are too many questions surrounding this guy, and I actually like that the anime doesn't rush to answer everything. It gives you just enough information to make you curious and then leaves you sitting there like, okay, so what exactly is Rudo? Even Sudio's story becomes interesting when you look at it through Rudo. You have these people in the wasteland looking up at the spheres, this world above them that represent everything they've been separated from, and Zodio becomes obsessed with preaching it. Rudo and Zodio are obviously very different people, but there is a similarity there. Both are products of a world that decided where they belonged. The difference is in how they respond to that rejection, and that's what I find interesting about Gachiakuta. The world keeps giving Rudo reasons to become bitter, but he hasn't completely allowed that bitterness to define him. But there is still one thing Rudo can't simply move past: Regto's mother. And this is probably the biggest mystery I'm taking away from the season. We still don't know who killed him, and I kept waiting for that reveal because as a viewer, you want Rudo to have somebody to blame. You want him to find the killer. Then we get those Max figures showing up around Amo, wearing a mask that immediately brings the Recto mother back into your mind. And I'm sitting there thinking, who are these people? Why are they here? And what do they have to do with Rudo? Because I refuse to believe those marks are just there for decoration. And that's probably why I ended up caring about Rudo more than I expected. At the beginning, he's just this angry kid who gets thrown into the wasteland, but the longer you watch him, the more you realize that underneath the anger is someone who genuinely wants to understand things. He wants answers. He wants to know why Recto was killed. He wants to understand his own abilities. And despite everything that happened to him, he's still trying to find value in the things and people that everyone else had already discarded. And then the enemy gives us the final reveal: Rudo Surebrec. And suddenly I'm even more confused, because apparently Rudo isn't just some random kid who happened to end up in the wasteland. There's something about his identity that matters, something about his past that we haven't fully uncovered yet. And honestly, that's a pretty good way to end the season, because instead of answering all my questions, Gachiakuta basically gave me 5 more. Overall, I really enjoyed Gachiakuta. The world is unique, the visuals are great, the powers are interesting, and there's enough mystery to keep you invested. But for me, Rudo is what holds everything together. He's a character who was literally thrown away by the world, yet he spent his time proving that being discarded doesn't mean being worthless. And now I need answers. Who killed Regto? What's the deal with Rudo's hand? Who are those Max people? And most importantly, who exactly is Rudo Surebrec? If you have watched Gachiakuta, I want to know what you think. Drop your theories in the comments. This is the Weeb. Stay geeky.